use it up, and particularly it's more of a high performance car, so it probably will use it more, I guess.
Wrong. That's absolutely not correct. Hi, welcome to another video from Fontain Motors. I'm Marcus. I want to talk to you this morning about coolant leaks. It's something that we've covered quite a few times in the workshops. We've had a number of cars in with various coolant leaks, diesels, petrols and so on. But I want to cover one particular engine and I want to dispel some myths and give you a little bit more background information. And in particular, I want to talk to you about the E8 888 engine as fitted in cars like Golf R, Audi S3, S1, and in a number of A3s and Golfs in the 1.8. So it covers the 1.8 petrol T and 2 litre T engines fitted in the later vehicles offerings from especially Audi and Volkswagen. And I want to talk to you about coolant leaks because this is something that we get a lot of comments on, and we get a lot of bookings through the workshops, and we're fixing a lot of coolant leaks. We were discussing this morning. We had a look on YouTube. We've been looking at some other videos, and there's one video in particular I want to just talk to you about and dispel some myths over it, so clear this whole thing up once and for all. So if you do own one of these cars and you are starting to notice your coolant going down a little bit, let's talk about it and actually tell you what's going on. So we're going to have a look at the little video now, and we'll talk you through some of the comments here, and so I can put you right on them. So the video we're going to look at now is a young chap who owns a Golf R. He's done a few thousand miles on it, and I think he's actually done quite a few miles over a holiday period in this video, and he's noticed that his coolant's a little bit low. So I'll have a look at the video now, and we'll just go through it, and I want to put a few things right that are not actually factually correct. So here goes.
Hi there guys, Sam here. Yeah, you joined me in my Golf R, and yeah, just a little bit of an update from my previous video just about on routine maintenance. So as I was kind of checking it out, it was kind of noted by myself, and obviously other viewers, kind of yourselves, kind of followed up on it as well. Engine coolant was quite low. In fact, it was below the minimum line. And sort of having a check, researched it further, and again listening to you guys, it should really sit somewhere in between the middle when it's cold, and then when it's hot it can sometimes be slightly over the max line, which isn't the end of the world, is what I've been told. Now coolant should naturally go down anyway. You know, this car will use it up, and particularly it's more of a high performance car, so it probably will use it more, I guess.
Wrong. That's absolutely not correct. It's irrelevant whether it's a performance car or it's a 1.2 3-cylinder most economical car out there. It has coolant in a pressurized system. This is under pressure. This is not open to the atmosphere. It does not consume, no car should consume coolant. It doesn't consume it in the way it would say consume oil or obviously petrol. It's a sealed system. It should be in the vehicle, and actually it could be in there for years, which is why on certain services after a few years, as a general maintenance thing, it's quite recommended that you might change the coolant because it becomes old, it becomes dirty over many miles and years. But no, they don't use coolant. Do not accept that you should be topping up coolant. That is the first thing you've really got to understand, because if you believe that myth, then that's where the problems could start, because your coolant is leaking. We've just got to establish where it's leaking from, but it is leaking, and if that will only get worse. And in a really bad situation, if that started to leak coolant quite quickly, even though you'd have a low coolant light that would come on, you may already start to be experiencing higher engine temperatures as a result, higher coolant temperatures as a result, because you've got less coolant in the system. And because modern cars now actually do have a fairly low threshold of thermal tolerance, which means to say they only need to overheat a little bit to start doing some quite serious damage, and we've seen this a few times just recently. So let's get that out of the way for a start. We'll carry on watching the video.
But it's quite low, too low for me, particularly as I've got quite a long journey back. I don't really want to risk it, any sort of problems with the radiator.
Yep, that's very low. That should not be under that minimum mark at all. You can see now, in actual fact, in that picture that you've got very little now left in the reservoir. Once you deplete the reservoir, then you're down to just simply what's in the system. There's no buffer here. So if you start losing more than this, then that engine's gonna start overheating. And when it does, we're not talking about minor things that you need to replace. We're talking about warping cylinder heads, quite possibly warping the block itself. And this would, if you had that situation occur, then you're going to end up having to have your engine completely rebuilt. Or if you went into an Audi dealer, they'd want to sell you a brand new engine. So you're talking about thousands and thousands of pounds. The level should be between the minimum and the maximum. When the car is cold, then you would expect the level to be lower because it expands as it gets hot. So when the car's cold, being lower than maximum is fine. When it is at normal operating temperature, then you should see the level of the coolant on or very, very slightly a millimetre or two above the sort of middle rim of the casing of the reservoir bottle.
I am a bit disappointed because if you've checked out my channel before, and I'll link above, I serviced the car about a month or two ago. So I would have liked them to personally say your engine coolant's a little bit too low.
Yeah, point here is that he's been into a Volkswagen dealer, he's had the car serviced, and he's suggesting that possibly they didn't pick up on the coolant being low, and that is possible. But it is also possible he's started to have a leak recently, and it could be quickly worsening. But it's something that you just don't ignore, and you don't allow a Volkswagen dealer to suggest that it's normal. As we can see in this video, this is exactly what actually happens here.
We're actually 2 days on, so went to the dealership yesterday. Probably spent about 15-20 minutes there, and to be fair, the moment I got there, they took the car in round the back, had it for about 10-15 minutes and came back and stuff. Didn't find any leaks, so that's really good. Came up with something of the reason why it could have gone down, etc, etc. You know, coolant can be used up and stuff like that.
This is wrong. If he's gone to a Volkswagen dealer and he's being told by a Volkswagen dealer that it's normal for his car to consume and use up some coolant, then sounds to me like they just don't want to do the warranty work, which is odd to say the least, and they're certainly not putting the best interest of the customer first here. So he's taken it into a Volkswagen dealer, they've taken it around the back, they perhaps had a quick look at it, decided they can't see anything obvious.
But there's no leaks, so it's fine to top up a little bit of water, so that's what he did. Didn't put any coolant in it, just water.
So just topped it up with some water, which, okay, yeah, in theory, a little bit of water on one occasion, yeah, you're not going to lose any sleep over it, but as best practice goes, then no dealer, no Volkswagen dealer or any decent specialist should just put a bit of water in a car, because you don't know, you only take the customer's word for it, you don't actually know how many times it might have been topped up before. And just best practice is there is a ratio of mix, obviously the coolant, E13 coolant, the pink stuff recommended by Audi VW group, comes through as a concentrate, and then you're going to mix that with some water. What you're looking to get is a mixture that gives you a freezing point of -25 to -28. So that's the ratio you're looking for, and a good workshop such as ours will keep a drum that's already been mixed, so we have the right amount, and then every time we need to top up, even if it's just, you know, quarter of a litre, it's small amounts, you're topping it up with a mixture that's correct. Really clearly what's happened here is he's taken it into a Volkswagen dealer. They're not really booking any time on this. They don't want to spend too much time because it's warranty. So they've had a little quick look at it. They've thrown a bit of water in it, so they avoid the cost to them of a tiny amount of coolant, and they sent the customer on his merry way. Now this may not turn into a problem, and I think looking at future videos it didn't for this chap, but in a lot of cases, if you can start seeing a leak This is only going to get worse. So let's talk about leaks. Okay, so this engine is very, very well known for thermostat housing leaks. We've covered this in previous videos, but I really want to just reaffirm this and stress the importance of getting this sorted out. The thermostat housing is a fairly complex piece. It's quite expensive because it's got electronics in there as well, and it's made of plastic, and unfortunately plastic tends to warp, it tends to shrink, it tends to move, and the seals that come with it also tend to sort of shrink back and move. So unfortunately it's a little bit of a, let's say, a little bit of a slightly weak area. It's nothing that's going to keep going wrong every 5 minutes, but it is a weak area that if you've got a car that's done a few thousand miles, you may see these leaks. And if you get a coolant leak, it's probably going to start at the thermostat housing. It's very difficult to see the thermostat housing from the top of the engine. You know, there's quite a lot of engine above it, and again, we've shown you that in previous videos. So one thing that any good reputable dealership should do, whether it be a main dealer or a specialist, should be to pressurize the system for a good start, because by putting a pressuring of the system, we generally would recommend to 1.5 bar, leave it for 10 to 20 minutes, and you're looking for a drop off in pressure. If the pressure doesn't drop off in that time, okay, you haven't got a leak. But if the pressure does drop off, and if you've lost coolant, if the coolant's gone down, you have got a leak somewhere. Chances are that pressure will drop over a 10-20 minute period. If that happens, then repressurize it back up to 1.5 and then start looking. Now, when you know that it's quite possibly going to be the thermostat housing, then you can get it up on a ramp, you can look from underneath, and you can see the witness marks. You're going to see either water or at least staining from coolant in and around the thermostat housing area. That's almost certainly going to be where your leak is from if you have this engine. And if you've got warranty on the car, then that needs to be done under warranty, because it's 4 hours book time, £400-500 for parts. You know, you're talking about main dealer rates. That's £1,000. So don't get fobbed off. Don't believe these cars consume water, and that's normal that they consume water. And if they're high performance cars, they consume water. It's not true. It's rubbish. Don't believe that garbage, because seriously, and if your car's out of warranty, don't ignore it, because if, as I said to you, said before, the thermal tolerance on these cars isn't as big as people think they are. They're not like old cast iron engines from the past, where they'd go and you could have steam pouring out from under the bonnet and, you know, top it up and put the top hose on and away you go. These cars, if they overheat, you're going to start doing damage quite quickly, and it can become very serious damage, as we've seen recently with some cars. So do get it assessed, do get it looked at, and do not accept from any dealership that losing a bit of coolant is normal. I hope that information is useful for you. If you like what you heard, please give us a like, please follow our channel. We'll speak soon. Thank you very much.